Okay, so probably not too many brand new people here today. You probably know the drill. You'll need a Bible, and if you don't have one, there's a few in the back on the ledge there. Probably a good idea to have something to write with as well. If you have last week's handout that sort of looks like this, with a whole lot of scripture on it, pull that out. If you don't have it, that's okay. I'll just walk you right through what we're going to be doing today. We are in the prophets as a class here on Sunday mornings at Chapel Hill, and we are currently in the book of Isaiah. And last week you probably were paying attention to the idea that this week we were going to be looking at Isaiah chapter 5 in the New Testament. Do you remember that?
Yes.
That's sounding about right?
That's where it ends.
Okay. Isaiah, if we remember, is second only to the book of Psalms, the most quoted Old Testament book in the New Testament, which makes it really significant, important to pay attention to. And we discovered there was this long list of scriptures that referred to images and themes that come right out of Isaiah chapter 5 alone. So it's a really important one for us to take a look at. I think we might want to start first by remembering the kind of passage that we're dealing with. Who remembers? Isaiah chapter 5, the first part is called what kind of a song?
Love song.
A love song. Good. All right. Anyone this week decide to put it to music? No? No one inspired to go do that, huh? It's not a very long love song. First couple verses are lovish, and then, it delves into some tough stuff. So I think what we'll do is I will start by reading the first 7 verses again. Listen to the prophet's word to who? Who is Isaiah writing to? God's people who are in Judah. Yep. Okay, these are God's people, Israel, living in the southern kingdom. I will sing for the one I love, a song about his vineyard. My loved one had a vineyard on a fertile hillside. He dug it up, cleared it of stones, and planted it with the choicest vines. He built a watchtower in it and cut out a winepress as well. Then he looked for a crop of good grapes, but it yielded only bad fruit. Now the dwellers in Jerusalem and men of Judah judge between me and my vineyard. What more could I have done for my vineyard than I have done for it? When I looked for good grapes, why did it yield only bad? Now I will tell you what I am going to do to my vineyard. I will take away its hedge, and it will be destroyed. I will break down its wall, and it will be trampled. I will make it a wasteland, neither pruned nor cultivated, and briars and thorns will grow there. I will command the clouds not to rain on it. The vineyard of the Lord Almighty is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah are the garden of his delight. And he looked for justice, but saw bloodshed. For righteousness he looked, but heard cries of distress. The word of the Lord. So, we have this passage to dive into this morning. Isaiah has a hard word for God's people. I had these hopes for you. I had these dreams for you. I had these plans, and I prepared everything for you. I made this choice hillside for you, and I meant for it to yield a good crop. But instead, what is Isaiah talking about? What does he see happening here? Instead of a choice crop, what's going on?
Bad fruit.
Bad fruit. Yeah. This is not yet happening to the people that Isaiah is writing to. Currently, things are pretty good by their estimation. Economy's pretty good. Worship is going well in the temple. Things don't look bad, but Isaiah has a word of prophecy from the Lord looking ahead. This is what's coming. Because although it might look good on the surface, underneath, the Lord knows what's truly going on in society. There's hints of it in verse 7. The Lord says at the second part, that he was looking for justice but saw what? Yeah, looking for righteousness but instead heard distress. Yeah. So last week we took some time in class and we looked into the woes and judgments that follow. And you did some good work in those. You wrestled with those passages a bit. Did anyone spend any more time this week looking at their woe of choice? Yeah? Any gems we need to hear about from that work? No? Not fun stuff, is it? It's tough stuff. All right. I hear ya. Okay. So,
We don't do homework in this class.
it's
very
okay.
well.
It's okay. No problem. No problem. We know from the work that we did last week that the Old Testament is full of images of the vineyard. And we also hear echoes of this in Jesus' words to Israel in his day as well. And that's the work that we want to do this morning. So let's go first to Matthew 21, verses 33 through 40. And I think you're going to find this sounding somewhat familiar to you. Matthew let's see. 21, 33, to 40. The parable of the tenants. Are you there? I hear pages wrestling. Good job. All right, I'm going to just give you a couple minutes to read this. Just read it to yourself and listen for echoes of the passage that we just read in Isaiah. The parable of the tenants, Matthew 21, starts in verse 33. Listen to another parable, all right? Just take a moment, read it. I think you'll find it sounds familiar. Sound like echoes of Isaiah? Yeah. It really does, doesn't it? So to put this parable in context, this is the beginning of the Passion Week in Matthew's Gospel. We've just had the triumphal entry into Jerusalem, Jesus and his disciples. He's been giving them hints of what's coming, hasn't he? He's going to die. This is going to be a tough week for them. He saved up some parables for this week, perhaps thinking that they'll be heard as a poignant word from him. If you know that you're not going to have a lot more time with someone, do you listen to their words a little differently? You really pay attention, don't you, to what's going on. So what is Jesus doing in this parable?
He's reminding them of Isaiah's prophecy and saying, this is what's going to happen to you.
He is. He's reminding them of Isaiah's prophecy. And he knows exactly what he's doing by borrowing this image. He knows. The religious leaders who are paying attention to his every move as well as his every word, they hear this as word of judgment on them. They have not taken good care of God's people. Things are going awry in society, and they need to be paying attention to this. Yikes, kind of tough words. Yeah, Mark.
The vineyard owner keeps sending
Yeah.
help and assistance to make things right and set things in order, but
Yes.
they can't keep disavowing anything that's said until, the Son comes. And instead of, showing humility and obedience, even when the heir comes, they look at that like huge opportunity.
Yes.
Great, let's kill him and take his inheritance. So it just shows that the judgment, that the attitude was right for the judgment.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the Lord just pleading. I tried this. I tried Isaiah. I tried exile. At the end, I give my very best. I give my son, and here's what you have planned. The Lord knows what's coming. Oh my goodness. There are other images as well that we hear in the Old Testament that Jesus echoes in the New Testament as he is addressing especially religious leaders. Any come to mind? How about the shepherd? Does Jesus refer to himself as the good shepherd? Quite a lot, yes. And there's references to bad shepherds who don't take care of their flocks, who let things go awry, and the religious leaders know, oh, those are prophetic words as well. Our forefathers heard those words. Now we're hearing those words. And the plot begins to thicken against Jesus. The vineyard, as we read it in Scripture, is meant to be understood as a corporate image. Vines don't grow by themselves very well. It takes a lot of them all together to create a crop that is worth harvesting. And Jesus, this is a word for his people, for all of them. This is a word for the religious leaders in those days. Who is this word for today? How do we take it? It's a word for us. It's a word for the church. It's a word for us to pay pretty close attention to. So, what do we do with this? What is Jesus wanting us to understand? Well, let's look at what he's doing. Triumphal entry, the Passion Week. Jerusalem is abuzz. Maybe somewhat like Cairo. I don't know. Things are happening. We don't necessarily get the sense that there's rioting in the streets, but it's a city on edge. You don't quite know what's going to happen next. When Jesus appears in the temple, things are disruptive. When he teaches, people are getting angry. The city is not quite sure what to do with this Messiah. So he's disrupting the status quo. In what areas of life? We know in religious life. Is he addressing some other things as well?
Society. He's
Society.
addressing the things that people are doing to the poor.
Yeah.
There's no justice.
Yep.
People are crying. They're being oppressed.
Yep.
Nothing has changed. Our world is still the same.
Mm-hmm. A prophetic word from our sister Charlene, and I think she's right. Ooh, things are shaking even right here in Gig Harbor. That's right. Politically, economically, religiously, this image of the vineyard is meant for us to understand that there is meant to be what? What word comes to mind? What does the Lord long for his people and for the world? The word, we tend to translate it as peace, but it means a whole lot more than that. What's the Hebrew word? Shalom. Shalom. You're going to encounter this again over and over again in the prophets. I mean for them to be shalom, wholeness, in all of life, not just in your religious practice, which is important to the Lord, that be God-honoring and that be instructive. But as soon as you leave the parking lot, so to speak, and you interact with the rest of your day, your neighborhoods, your workplaces, there's meant to be the reign of God there as well.